Hi guys, and welcome back. Today we take a look at a snippet of a debate between a Christian and a Satanist on marriage, abortion, and social benefits of their worldviews. In this debate, you will see how the Satanist is inconsistent with most of his answers and always tap dances around real issues. The link to the full debate is in the description. God bless, and let's dive in.
How would you define marriage? Or a positive, a healthy, non-degenerate marriage?
Yeah, I would say marriage is an institution that is ordained by God and facilitated by the church, where it's a union between man and woman.
There you go. So, what are your thoughts? I don't want to get down the rabbit hole either, but would you consider a marriage between the same sex, to be degenerative?
I just wouldn't acknowledge that that's a marriage at all.
Okay, so in that case, you're more than happy to impose your will onto all of that.
I mean, I would reject it outright that that's a marriage at all. But like, what do you think marriage is?
Marriage, I think it's really a union between two adults at its most basic.
So can me and my buddy get married?
Theoretically, yeah, you could. There's nothing stopping you from it now.
Can I get married with a broomstick?
No, that's
Why not?
not a consenting adult.
But marriage is just completely arbitrary then.
For the most part, yeah. For the most part, yeah, it is.
See, I have a definition of marriage. I think that if you're like a civil union is a different thing from a marriage, but a marriage is a church institution and it has like definitions. It actually means something.
I don't recognize the church the same way you don't recognize same-sex marriage.
Yeah, I mean, but your point about abortion though. So why would it be wrong for me to stop babies getting murdered? That seems to me a hard case.
That presupposes that that's what's happening. That's a presupposition. You're presupposing that abortion is straight all the time, 100% babies getting murdered.
Oh, so when should abortion not happen?
Personally, I don't think it should happen before. I would not have one at the third trimester. Personally,
you wouldn't have one.
But what my neighbor does is none of my business.
Okay, well, when do you think human life begins?
I believe human life begins at birth. The Bible actually supports that too, but most Christians don't realize that.
No, the Bible actually says that God knew you before you even existed.
But it's not referring to when your life began. That's correct. It does say that, but that's not referring to when your life began. Not at all.
So, but even if we just look at this purely from the rational scientific perspective or the secular humanist perspective, when do you think that scientists believe that life begins?
That's too broad of a statement. They can have just as many disagreements as anyone else. There's no.
So we're not looking at scientific consent. I mean, if you look at scientific consensus, they're going to tell you, and there's been like extensive studies done with biologists who will say that life begins at conception, the moment that the egg is fertilized. So
your original
if that is a human life,
did you not believe that?
Do you not believe that basically the day before a baby is born, when it's still in the womb, you don't think that that's a human being?
You asked me what scientists think, and then you referred to consensus. Consensus is going to imply that there's differences. We can't ask me what all scientists think and then ask about consensus, because scientists don't all agree on that. You can find a scientist that'll say one thing and a scientist that says another.
Yeah, you can. But generally with science, you test it, you have an observation and a hypothesis, you test it. It's a scientific method. And when it comes to life and when it comes to biology, it's a pretty established field of science. So do you take issue with the fact that scientists believe that babies in the womb are human beings, that life has begun?
That seems like a little bit of a different question. So no, I don't take issue with them being human beings. I mean, it's not a horse. So
it is a human being.
Certainly not. Yeah, well, of course. A fetus is a human being. What we're talking about is where life begins. And I don't think
you just
life begins.
that a fetus is a human being. Your whole worldview was based upon consent. So the baby isn't consenting to being murdered. So how's that right?
The baby can't consent to anything. That's exactly the nonsensical statement. Even the Christian Bible says otherwise. The Christian Bible talks about life beginning at birth. That's when God breathed life into you. That's what the miracle of birth is. You were just a shell, you're dust and clay.
You just admitted
to that it's a human being. Agree with what you just said.
But you just admitted to it being a human being. So if a baby is a human being, and you've just admitted to that, your whole worldview is based around people consenting, the baby hasn't consented to being murdered.
It's impossible
So
for a
then
baby
how's
to
it wrong?
consent.
So then how's it wrong for me as a Christian to want to actually come in and say, no, you can't kill this baby? How's that wrong?
There's nothing wrong with you wanting to come in and say that. There's something wrong with you stopping
Okay,
other
there's
people.
nothing wrong with it.
There's nothing wrong with you wanting to come in and say that. Say it all you want, but it's none of your business.
But you just said that you would come in and stop the children from being molested, basically. You said
If
you
this
would
was
stop
on my
that.
street in my front yard, I absolutely would. If it was in
Okay,
Papua New
well-
Guinea, I wouldn't. It's none,
Okay.
you know, I
So
wouldn't.
now it's about where it is. What if it's in?
Absolutely.
What if it's in the street next to you?
In the United States, yeah, I
Yeah.
would.
If it's in the United States at all?
Any type of child molestation, if I could,
Yep.
yeah, I would absolutely help out.
Okay, so then that's just completely destroys your logic, because I would want to do the same thing in my country with abortion. I'd want to stop kids from getting murdered.
Well, you're talking about want to. No. You can't jump from what would I do to want to. That's two different topics.
You just said you
You're
would stop
asking
them.
me, I would stop someone from being molested in the public street next
I'd
to me.
stop
That has
people from
nothing to
killing
do with
babies.
abortion. That's
I'd
not,
stop
that's
people from
apples and
killing
oranges.
babies. It's just
Apples
your
and
logic,
oranges.
man. You're saying that you want to protect children from this sort of thing happening.
I didn't say that.
I'm saying I want to protect children from being murdered. So you said you'd stop
You're putting
it.
a
I
lot
said
of
I'd
words
stop
in my
it.
mouth. I didn't say that. Can you see the difference between abortion and a child molestation?
Yeah, I can understand that one of
Okay.
them is murdering a child and one of them is molesting a child, but
Okay, so
equally,
let's
the logic
pick
equally
one.
applies.
I don't think so. Let's pick one and stick to it, because the fact that I'm telling you I would stop a child molestation from happening on a sidewalk has nothing to do with my thoughts on abortion. You
Okay,
can't combine
so if you
those two.
saw the
That's two
child
different things.
Then if you saw the child being murdered, would you stop it?
A child, as in a born child, yeah, I
Mhm.
would.
Yep.
A
Okay.
born child,
So
I absolutely would.
so then
If I saw an
we
abortion
are in the
happening on
same
the
camp.
sidewalk, I would have some questions there.
So you wouldn't stop that?
I would have more concerns about the fact that there's an abortion clinic on the sidewalk.
Yeah, right.
You know,
I mean,
that's
it's just
a little
your
bit of
logic, man.
a crazy example.
You've just said that they're human beings. Obviously, they're children, they're human beings. I've said that I would stop that, and you said that you would stop that as well, them being killed. So there really is no distinction.
To stop that?
Well, I can't. I don't really
Have
have
you
the
done?
manpower.
You said you'd stop
But
it. Have you done it?
If I had the institutional power, I would absolutely stop that.
So now there's an if.
Yeah,
There wasn't
no,
one. I didn't get to have an if. You do.
Well, but I said, would you stop that? I didn't say, have you stopped that? I said,
Okay, would you stop that?
Yeah, absolutely.
In Papua New Guinea, you would go right up there and just stop it.
Yep.
Okay. I think we're back to the whole you want to impose your will and I don't. I think what they were doing
I actually
completely
do
wrong.
want to stop people from inseminating children. Strike me down.
I'm not thrilled about it at all. Don't misunderstand what I'm saying for support of what they're doing. I think that's disgusting, to be quite honest. But at the same time, I'm not enforcing my will on anyone.
But it's their will, and they're all happy to do it. So I don't really understand
leave them alone.
why you even have a problem with it.
That's
Fine,
not
okay,
your
then you're
problem.
happy. Okay, well then you're
That's
happy
not
to.
your problem.
Then you're happy to have that. I'm not. I would stop that.
No,
and this is
no,
what
you
Christians
just
have
said I'm
done throughout
happy to have
history, and
that.
that
That's an
Christians have done
illogical
this
leap.
throughout the entire
I didn't say I was happy to have it. I'm just
You
being
said-
realistic. I'm not flying to Papua New Guinea to go stop this. If it's
You
across the
said
street
leave them
from me, that's
alone.
different.
They're actualizing. Leave them alone.
Yeah,
But
no.
there's-
You're gonna tell you're not. I'm not flying to Papua New Guinea. Neither are you. That's just absurd. If it's happening across the street from me, yeah, that's totally different. And if you can't see the difference between that, then that's
Yeah, well,
strange.
it's meant to test your logic. It's not meant to be a claim about what you're actually
Right,
going
but your
to do.
scenarios are apples
reality.
and oranges. Your scenarios are apples and oranges.
It's
Even
actually
if we were
the
to narrow
logic.
it down.
The logic actually is it's just designed to test your logic. If you're willing to
You
do
have too
one
many
thing, you should be
variables.
willing to do the other thing. But
You have too
Christians
many
have done this
variables.
throughout history, and this is why Christianity is a better worldview for humanity than you guys, because you guys actually wouldn't have really a reason to stop that sort of thing. Whereas Christians have
Yeah.
gone around the world and through ministry, they've stopped all sorts of barbaric practices like child sacrifice. They went to India and they stopped all of these sort of pagan rituals of the sati, where the wife jumps into the fire when the husband's body's being burned. They've done this throughout
But
history.
now we're
so-
back to you. You're claiming all the good that individual Christians did, but you're still not acknowledging the bad. I mean, come on. There's no way you think that Christianity is a flawless moral compass right now in the world. There's no way.
Yeah, no, I think that human beings are definitely flawed. But the problem that you've got here is that you
So
just said,
jump from Christianity to human
hold on a
beings.
second, wait a second. I just said to you, what are the sort of things that are happening today in society based upon Christianity that are negative for society? And you said to me, abortion. We went through that. Your logic was dismantled there. And I can't remember.
I didn't say Christians
something
caused the
else.
abortion.
But I didn't say you said that. You
That's
said
what it sounded
that
like.
it was wrong that Christians stop abortion, and then we walked through that logic tree.
Okay, yeah, I do think it's wrong that Christians stop abortion.
Okay, well, I mean, we can relitigate this if you want.
No, we don't need to go back into it again. At the end of the day, every time we start to talk about something, you expand your lasso, so to speak, to include a wider variety of things rather than just staying on topic. For example, if we're going to talk about abortion, we don't really get to jump into Papua New Guinea. I mean, that's a bit strange. And if we're going to talk about child molestation, again, not happening, it's different in Papua New Guinea versus happening across the street from here. At the end of the day, Christianity isn't making the world better. Individual Christians might be, but individual Christians might be making the world worse. And at the end of the day, whenever you're going to enforce your will, I mean, if you're going to force your will on others, I don't think that's superior, especially when you have the threat of hell looming over everything.
Yeah, what's wrong with that?
Again, now we're going to jump back into what's wrong, and we're going to get into our differences about our views of what's wrong.
That would be what a debate is. So what's wrong with that?
Right, but at the same time, what's wrong with the threat of hell? I mean, you don't think there's anything wrong with that? Telling children that? I mean, come on.
I asked you.
I think that's child abuse. Okay, I'll answer. I think it's child abuse.
How so?
To scare children into certain behavior with threats of eternal damnation. I think that's I mean, you're doing everything at that point, but physical violence. I think that's absolutely child abuse.
But Papua New Guinea's fine. But
no, I didn't say Papua New Guinea's fine. I never said Papua New Guinea's fine.
Okay.
I don't know why you think that. I never said that.
Sure.